Hello, you rumsters and malt mates. Ralphie here in the bothy with review number 1090 extras. Extra content, extra opinion, extra perspective, extra information. And at the moment, it's just the beginning of August in the Isle of Man. And we're really at the height, we're over the yardarm, as they say, that old nautical term, of summer. So that summer is most certainly still with us. The sun is shining, and it's just long days and shorter nights. And it's delightful because we're simply getting more light, and light is full of life. And for those of us who are aware of it, we embrace it. And we get extra sunshine, and always good to get extra sunshine. Always good to let ourselves feel the presence of the sunshine, because it is the warmth of life. And without the sun, there is no life. It's not rocket science. Anyway, just a couple of weeks ago, I was in London, and I flew from Ireland down to London City Airport. It's in the Canary Wharf area of London, the East End of London, and it's the smallest London airport, and because of that you tend to get in and out quite quickly, and it's very, very handy to get into the centre of London because of the London Light Railway, which is the newest edition of public transport in the London train system, which takes you in about 25 minutes into the City of London to the station called Bank Street, which I think is arguably the deepest subway station in the whole of London. London is very easy to navigate if you avoid commuter times and you have what's called an Oyster card, which is your open access ticket that you scan in and on and off the public transport system. It's knowing how to use it. And I wasn't using it that much, but I did use it to get myself to the London Rum Show, which was just literally the south side. Oh, excuse me, incoming. You coming up? You've had your treats. You're gonna be cheeky? Give me a smile, right? Okay, come here, you. Come here. You've had your treats. You're not getting any more treats. He's quite an athletic cat. You're not getting any more treats, you wee greedy sausage. Yeah, don't give me that look. Daddy's spoken. London Rum Show. I better start at the beginning here, because I went to the London Rum Festival about 7 years ago. It was the first rum festival I'd gone to, and I wanted to go to a big one where there was as much diversity of rum brands as possible. The biggest volume of rum brands from as geographically diverse parts of the world as possible. So obviously London had to be the London Rum Festival. But although I enjoyed myself, and it was very different from a whisky festival, because it really was the traditional rum crowd there who were waiting for cocktails. There was a lot of lower end rums. It was very brand led. The actual tables in which the rum was presented were generally quite theatrical, and everybody was smiling and beaming and in the party mood, even when they weren't, because it was a long, long day. In fact, I left in the last hour because I could smell the violence in the air. And yeah, it wasn't unusual in the rum festival that a fist would fly in the last hour because someone had bumped into someone the wrong way. And I could see that the rum scene was developing the need for a sippers festival. Now that was at Fulham, and I've got no regrets about going there. You found that the sippers corner was kind of stuck at the end of the hall, but there was some good options, and generally, if you found the four-square table, you were on a winning streak. But it's in the last couple of years, and this is post-pandemic lockdown, as part of the substantial changes in attitudes, not just whisky fans, but the rumsters themselves are taking sipping rum, slow sipping rum, a lot more seriously. There is most certainly more demand for it, because generally everybody is looking for less quantity and more quality. That's the trend. Of course, it's exactly the same with whisky. It's the same with all spirits. And it's been the tradition that the drinks industry, the global alcohol industry, has been very much one for tub thumping itself with very heavy cliche-driven marketing in order to kind of sway people's emotions when they're no longer sober. And by and large, it's worked. But it's not working so much now. Big brands are taking a hit. The first people to walk away from alcoholic beverages for their own health benefits, for basically spending less money on alcohol, because they're going to spend it in gym membership, for example, or they're going to basically avoid the chronically embarrassing situation when they were out in public and they were drunk and people were filming them, and then they get called into their office at work and threatened with a verbal or even a written warning for bringing their employer into disrepute. All these things are happening now. The landscape's seriously changing. So you've got the sippers market, and it is absolutely growing. And this generated a second major whisky festival in London called the Rum Show, organised by the Whisky Exchange, which is a major online retailer. I went to the first Rum Show, which was last year in 2024. Or was it the second one? It was one of the early ones. And I thoroughly enjoyed not just the great presence, when I say great, the numerous presence of better quality rums specifically for sipping. And sure, you had your little cocktail corner, but nobody was finishing the cocktails. Well, a few people were. But people would taste them and then they'd put them down and walk away. People are at the Rum Show to sip rum, to take their time with it. And one of the first things I noticed was that the presenters were really, really enjoying it. They're used to going to party crowd and then getting swamped with people, getting increasingly slurry, looking for a coconut or a punch or how cheap can this rum be, and if you get anything cheaper than this, or if I really like your rum but I'll need to go for something cheaper, so what do you recommend apart from your rum? These sort of questions that they tend to get asked. But now people are saying, and what can you tell me about the style of sugarcane? Because there's not one variety of sugarcane, there's hundreds. And that's just in one regional area like the Caribbean or South America. The history around rum, the styles of still, wooden stills, boiler stills, Loman stills, reflective or high-necked pot stills with retort pots. And retort pots, of course, are not used in Scotch whisky. But you have Scotch whisky still makers actually exporting Scottish-made stills to Jamaica and making fabulous rum, and I'm talking about Worthy Park. The whole rum scene, if you're getting a little bit jaded about whisky, or you feel you've got good knowledge about whisky and you want to kind of, if you want a new challenge, rum is absolutely the way to go. There was over 300 sipping rums on display, and what you do is you'd go up, it's £50 for a ticket. For the quality of the pours, that's really good, in my opinion, particularly in London. And they basically more or less sold out both the Friday and the Saturday. They give you your 2-day ticket, because if I'm going to London, I may as well get a 2-day ticket and not have a 1-day ticket. You see, that gives you an advantage when you visit a show twice on consecutive days. You basically get to try something out and then say, right, I want to come back to this and try it again, or I've got my bearings here. I know who's producing what. I'll leave the heavy estery rums or the real bagger rums to the Haitian rums, for example. I'll leave them to the second day and later on in the afternoon. So, the geographical locations of these rum distilleries, there's literally from all over the world. I was tasting Vietnamese rum and it was good stuff. Really interesting. But you had, for example, Holmes K, which I've just reviewed. We're up in the first floor with about half a dozen different bottles of rum and the proprietor of the company himself to explain and talk about the backstory, how he sources his rums, how he looks after his rums. We had Havana Club from Cuba, or several from Cuba. We have Green Island and Takamaka from the Indian Ocean. These are Seychelles and Reunion Island rums, not tending to be my style. I prefer the British style of rums. I like the kind of molasses style because that's what my palate just automatically goes to. But I'm prepared to be challenged, and frankly, I have been challenged at the rum show. In fact, my next review is going to be of a white rum. First time I've done that really on this channel. But they had Black Tot, they had Bacardi was there, of course, Angostura, Ron Abuelo, El Dorado, Eminente, and we see Mount Gay, of course, St Nicholas Abbey, Foursquare, all from Barbados. Claren, spirit from Haiti, lots of varieties of Claren, very impressive. Hampden Estate, De Paz, Yellow Snake, and Rum St James. They had some rum cake, they had a stand with rum cake. They had Worthy Park, Appleton Estate, Don Q, Kakira, English Harbour, very good rum, English Harbour, from St Lucia, I believe. Mercer, which is a rum blend brand. The Isla Rum Company, and I may as well point out this because there's whiskey drinkers don't realise there's a rum distillery in Isla. They don't never heard of it because they're too busy looking at whiskey. They forget that Isla has got a rum distillery, and it's at Port Ellen. And there it is. There's the flyer for it. Ben is the proprietor. Lovely chap. He's got producing some really good quality rum. What I'm noticing is that any idea that Scottish or British rum is going to be inferior because sugarcane is not indigenous to Britain. It isn't. You can't grow sugarcane in Britain. You can grow sugar beet. You can make rum from that, but it's not the same and it's not taken seriously. But the fact is, freeze-dried rum juice is now widely available in the global market. So you're actually, because of the careful use of whiskey experience in making spirit, picking the right yeast, allowing for slow fermentations, which are far more difficult to control in the tropics because of ambient heat. In fact, one of the problems in the tropics is over-fermentation, too much, too fast, that doesn't allow the acidity to develop within the wash, which adds to the fruitiness of flavour. And then this is where rum is just... We're right at the beginning with rum, but I think that the skill and the intelligence that I see being put into new make rum spirit in Britain, with British rum distilleries, including Orkney. Orkney's got a rum distillery. The home of Island Park. Must be one of the most northerly rum distilleries in the world. But the intelligence and experience going into the new make spirit is very impressive. I think we're going to see some wonderful stuff in the future. Now, as I mentioned, there was 300 different rums, and 42 presenters. I would say for a 2-day ticket, £100 over 2 days, and you get little tabs which entitle you to an extra aged whiskey. They had a small selection of real high-end stuff that you could pay a little bit extra ticket price to get a pour, but there was no need for it. Frankly, they didn't need to be there. The quality of standard and independent bottling rums that were on show were more than enough to justify the ticket price. So, if you're a whiskey fan and you're looking for a change, you might not be able to make the London Rum Show, but on the back of the success of the London Rum Show and the London Rum Festival, we're seeing other rum festivals happening around the UK. They're still in their infancy. They're still kind of restricted in what they can present. However, it's where the energy is. And I'm going to be a bit controversial and say that in the whiskey scene, things have got a bit too tame. I mean, thank goodness for the Thompson brothers and the belligerence, and I'm picking my words carefully, the belligerence they bring to whiskey bottlings to make it genuinely exciting and get us thinking and wondering what they're going to bottle next. What permutation? What variation? Well, we're going to see that in the next few years with rum. Very exciting times, because of course, let's face it, we all know that rum doesn't need to be matured in oak casks, and it doesn't need to be matured for 3 years. It is not restricted by legal regulation, legally binding regulation. Now that's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing, because it tends to put Scotch whisky into a straitjacket, in that we wonder what would Scotch whisky taste like if it was matured in non-oak casks, or oak casks that contained different wood variety inner staves or even barrel heads. Wood has a huge amount of diverse flavours. Spruce, for example, is nothing like oak. Cherry is not like oak. Chestnut is not like oak. These are different woods with different flavours, different ways of interacting with the spirit, different densities of cellulose within the wood fibre. And this all adds up. So, exciting times is something for a whisky fan to keep in mind. You might not be in the mood for it yet, but when you are, take a couple of mates and go along to a rum festival. Enjoy yourself, have a laugh, and don't take it too seriously. And you'll find that it actually makes a nice refreshing change from a whisky festival, which is going to be there for you when you're ready to buy a ticket for that as well. It's the perfect way, it's the perfect mechanism for taste and try before you buy, and while you're at it, speak to the people who make it, the brand ambassadors, the salespeople, hear what they have to say, disregard it or take it on board. Whatever way you spin it, it's money well spent and you're going to get a great experience. And there you have it. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this extras. If you want to pop back again, I'll be reviewing in my next review, number 1091, a white rum from Martinique. Clément is the producer, and it's called Cam Bleu 2020. And it is, if I was to pour this neat for someone, they wouldn't believe that it came from sugarcane. They wouldn't even know it was a rum. It is such an eau de vie. It's such an essence of a specific variety of sugarcane, and the marine notes in it are something of fascination, a thing of fascination. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.